So,
Good day and welcome to the Awake Nation guest interviews with guests who defy the mainstream narrative. Grab a cup of coffee while our guests brew the news for you. The Awake Nation, the truth with a shot of espresso. The Mockingbird Media controls the narrative. We help you determine what is real and what is not.
Global conspiracy with key players, the highest levels of power, reaches into the lives of every man, woman, and child on this planet.
Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of government, I will fear no Satans. Tuesday, January 16, 2024, our guests are Christi Tasker. Christi Tasker is an award-winning technologist, international business consultant, designer, manufacturer, artisan. She designs and sells fashion, jewelry, home decor, and fabrics. Christi is also an investigative journalist based in Miami who travels globally to discover truth. She's an investigative journalist for the Awake Nation. You can find her at ChristiTasker.com, PSSRocks.com, PatriotsPerspective.com, and ChristiTaskerForMiami.com. Our next guest is Dr. Reg McDaniel. Dr. Reg McDaniel, New Eden Supplement. Currently, Dr. McDaniel is Director of Research at Wellness Quest, LLC. He has published numerous educational papers on the effects of glyconutritionals in relation to various conditions. And Christi Tasker is back with a snap with Banana Republic News. Christi is an international investigative reporter for the Awake Nation and Banana Republic News. Christi reports on the Miami political scandals and corruption, as well as global corruption. Banana Republic News. We don't monkey around with the truth. Rounding out the final hour of the Awake Nation is Jinny Silcox. Formerly employed with the Department of Energy, Jinny was a designer and trainer. Jinny held Q clearance. She is a musicologist and international speaker on frequency, direct energy weapons, electromagnetics, and the dangers of 5G and the future of AI. Don't forget to subscribe to The Dark Outpost at darkoutpost.tv. There you will find exclusive content, interviews, documentaries, and intel not found anywhere else. You can find us on Rumble at the David Zublick channel and watch us live at theawakenation.com. Falling down the rabbit hole can hurt. Ow, 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 ow. Ouch. That's gonna hurt. We will provide the researchers and whistleblowers. Your mission is to discern the truth from the MSN lies. And now for the interview portion of the Awake Nation. And awake we go with a shot of espresso. It's showtime.
All right, welcome back to the Awake Nation. Joining us now, Christi Tasker. Christi, good morning. We have a double shot of Christi today, folks. That's
yes,
great.
we do. Double shot of espresso.
And you're muted.
You.
She has to unmute herself.
We can't hear you.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Yeah.
much better, much better.
Well, we'll get off to a good start by making sure people can hear what I have to say. Because, man, we are dropping bombshells after bombshells here in Miami. But what I'm going to do, consider I'm on two segments today. We are going to have Banana Republic News at 10:30. 10:30, right, Penny? 10:30 Eastern?
Yes.
Yes.
9:30 Central?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So at 10:30 Eastern, for my audience here in Miami, they are very anxious to know what I think about a lot of the things going on here, because there is so much that it's like wild monkeys. That's the only thing I can think of. It's just like wild monkeys, just like running around.
Did you hear a monkey story?
No, but
Okay,
I mean,
there is a monkey story.
well,
we
we've
haven't
got
gotten to it
we've
yet.
got the alien story. Well, there's some real monkey type stories. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, there's a monkey business, that's for sure.
Yeah, it is beyond belief. That's all I'm going to say. But in this segment, we're going to go national, international. We're going to remind people of some truth bombs that we've been dropping for like 5 years now. It's like, it's not that hard to see. Like, you want to believe Joan Rivers, you want to believe, you want to believe Trump. You want to believe me when I say that Vivek is going to like come out after the Iowa caucus? I've been saying this. Vivek is going to be part of Trump's campaign. Hello. He was there
I think
to make
maybe
sure.
we'll name him as VP.
I don't know that he's going to name him as VP, but I think he will have a position for sure. Even though at the very last minute, Trump came out, stating that, he was actually like kind of throwing Vivek under the bus, but I still don't believe. Okay. So I'm going to paraphrase for everybody what my thoughts are. I'm going to tell you what I know, what I don't know. I'm not going to be showing you a lot of photos, but if anybody wants to see any proof or any photos or anything like that, I'll gladly drop them on patriotsperspective.com.
How far are you from Mar-a-Lago?
About an hour and 15 minutes. So
Okay.
depends on.
Now, I have a question for you. A while ago, there were allegations he might be bringing in Ben Carson, which is surprising because when Ben ran against him, then he gave him the position of HUD. But in his book, Ben had talked about having pathological anger, and Trump had elucidated that he tried to. This is from his book, that he tried to hit his mother in the head with a hammer.
That Ben did or Trump did?
Yes.
Ben tried to hit his mother in the head with a hammer?
He said it. No one else did for him. He wrote it in his book. It was going to hit his mother in the head, kill his mother, hit her in the head with a hammer time. And
so we're going to go back. This is
weirdo things. Somebody buy his book.
Yeah. Okay. So this is a good place to start. I think it's a great place to start because it's actually where some of my major political research on Trump started. Okay. So first of all, I was the person in the very beginning who thought Trump was just going to, like he wasn't actually going to run. Okay. My husband was like, no, honey, he's going to run this time. Okay. So I was like, well, if he's going to run, I'm going to vote for him.
Yeah.
I just didn't think he was going to run. Okay. So that's number one. Let's get that out of the way. So when he started running against Ben Carson, keep in mind, my daughter was in in school, nursing school at the time. And she loved Dr. Ben Carson. So, would watch his movie and everything. And I really admired the work that he had done.
Yes, I did a lot of research on Ben because I found out that the conjoined twins that were separated, there were allegations that he was, he wasn't actually responsible for that. But that misnomer being said, the mother that had the twins, removed from being conjoined, regretted it to the remainder of her days because nobody followed up on those twins, and those twins ended up in nursing homes unable to dress themselves. So I just wanted to address that.
Yeah, and I remember reading something like that, and and it's and the way I look at things, I'm gonna give you guys some perspectives because a lot of times we don't get a chance to like talk perspectives. My perspective even on that situation is not every doctor can take care. I mean, the doctor just does the separation, right? It's not the doctor's responsibility to take care of the children afterwards. So we all have to take care of our own health.
Correct. I do understand that. However, would you think since that was the case that literally made him, because he was the first person to separate conjoined twins, would you not think he might just even, I'm not saying he had to do aftercare for the rest of their lives. I'm just saying he might want to
follow up. I understand. Yeah. Follow up. Yeah. You're just saying
follow up and then, but nothing. Zilch. Zippo.
Well, I think that's kind of typical, to be honest with you. I mean, however, you're right. It did make his career. So, you know what? I've actually found what I'm going to show you guys because, I love to be able to show people proofs like as we go along. So when I say everything kind of starts here in Miami, it looks like I'm not going to be able to pull it up because it's actually images that are on my computer. But I'll post them to Patriots Perspective, Twitter, and Facebook pages and Instagram. So you guys can see what I'm talking about. So when I first moved to Miami, I was obviously met with mass amount of corruption and just doing basic building projects. Okay. So I didn't get into, investigating the government by, for just no reason. I started investigating because I was having massive amounts of problems that could easily be avoided anywhere else, even in third world countries, in Italy and Paris. I mean, I've done projects all over the world. Okay. Dominican Republic, in the U.S. Virgin Islands. A matter of fact, in 2007, I believe I actually got a call, and I don't have the records for this that I can find at this very moment, but if God wants them to appear, they will. But I actually got a call from an island in the U.S. Virgin Islands to do a project that I believe at the time was for Jeffrey Epstein. But fortunately, I had someone by my side at the time that absolutely refused to allow us to get off of the boat at the island because the boat was not going to be there. So we wouldn't get off the boat. Okay. So then I moved to Miami in 2015. I opened this project called Casa Wynwood, which was an event venue and an education center where I immediately met the top artists. So I've met the top artists in the entire world. Okay. I've met Shepard Ferry. I've met Mr. Rainwash. I have photos with all of them. Okay. And one
Mr.
artist,
Rainwash, not Mr. Brainwash.
He's the one who does all the Life is Beautiful, Love. If you want to watch a cool documentary, it's called Exit Through the Gift Shop. Okay. So I started to learn from these. It's called Exit Through the Gift Shop.
Right.
So it actually tells about the graffiti, how it kind of came to be, and also how a lot of this art goes down. So I started to see okay, this art is actually really easy to do in most cases. There is talent. Don't get me wrong. There is talent in a lot of it, but in a lot of it is just not that talented. Okay. I'll just put it nice. So I became friends with Miguel Paredes. Miguel Paredes is a Miami artist. He's known for doing this little creature called the pulga. And Miguel, I was telling him, I was actually coaching him at the time in 2015. We became friends, and he's like, listen, I just I need to do something that's going to make a storm. And I said, well, you're going to have to get involved, politically. You're going to have to make political art. I mean, I don't know what your views are politically, but you're going to have to make political art. Well, he did. He actually made these pieces that are Ben Carson. At the time, we didn't know who was even going to be in the runoffs or anything. And he said, well, who do you think are going to be in the runoffs? And I said, Ben Carson and Donald Trump. So he painted Doc Chocula, because he thought that Ben Carson was bad. Okay. This is not my views. This is his views. I've actually met Dr. Carson and his wife. Dr. Carson is the most fainted spoken person. So faint speaking that if he doesn't have a microphone, soft spoken is not even a word. My mom's going.
I've seen a couple of interviews with him where he is very soft spoken.
I'm going to say
he did admit he has a pathological anger problem, which that pathological means it doesn't go away, but he says he was healed by God. So that's his statement.
Well, I hope he is. He's actually, to me, he appears in person to be a very, very nice man. Okay. Here's what I know. Ben Carson was actually brought on by Mike Pence. They are good friends.
Interesting, because I actually went to his church. He's a Seventh-day Adventist.
Okay, so everybody can take this or leave it. I'm not shooting anyone in the foot here, okay? I'm just telling you guys what I know. I'm telling our audience what I know. He is friends with Mike Pence. And I know this from a reverend in New York.
So it was Mike Pence that brought him on and recommended that he be head of HUD? Because I thought that was odd that a surgeon a former surgeon would be head of HUD.
Head of HUD, yes, because I thought that he was going to be the VP. Okay.
Wow.
So
okay.
I think Mike Pence might have kept Dr. Carson under his thumb so that he, number one, here's basically what Dr. Carson said. Dr. Carson said, he himself said, he chose to work for HUD because he saw that there was a way to get his people, Black people, into homes quickly, which he did. Actually, under the administration, he did. And even Black people will say, yes, we, much better under the Trump administration. And then they will turn around and still say orange man bad. Okay. They will basically say that because I'm on the ground here. And that's as of 6 months ago. Their minds could have changed now. Okay. So I'm just saying that's conversation as of 6 months ago. So Miguel does this art and everything, so it gets a lot of attention. And
so why did Miguel think he was bad?
I don't know. You know what? I'll actually have to ask Miguel now why he thought he was bad. I mean, the painting is like in front of a cereal box. The Cocoa Puffs cereal box. That's
really?
What he painted, but he painted him as Doc Chocula, and then he painted Trump as Very Berry. Very Berry. With like his brain's like about to explode and is like, but he's angry too. So he saw them both as like angry people. So it's kind of interesting that he saw. Maybe
I would love to see that painting.
Yeah, well, I'll post them because they're in my library. So I'll definitely post them. I'm trying to get everything organized because I had an issue with my library. Imagine that, my photo library. Yeah, where it was all nice and organized, and all of a sudden I go into Adobe and it was gone. So, I'm just glad that I have the photos that I'm speaking about. So, all right. So then we go into, so that's how I started to connect with everyone. Everyone wanted to host things in my venue, including the Hillary Clinton campaign. To the point where their people flew down from New York. We're trying to figure out a way to copter her in. Okay. She was the most needy, let's just say, out of all of the politicians. Okay. To the point where I just said, you know what? I don't really like her. I'm not in trouble to open up a fence and ask my neighbors to let her land a helicopter. Like, I felt like they were trying to make a really big deal out of her. Okay. Because I already know another project that I'd worked on called World Market Center in Las Vegas was owned by Related Group. So all of my people here, they're like, well, how do you know so much about Related? Well, my husband used to work for Related at the World Market Center in Las Vegas for the Las Vegas market. That is where I won many awards because I came in and saved their project at the very last minute. In the last 6 weeks, they had no attendance coming to that market. And my husband literally said, if you don't hire my wife to do this marketing project, I'm out. And so they did. It was almost like a forced hire because their entire marketing team was not doing their jobs. And I'm saying that because I said it to them at the time, and they all know it. And listen, they did not like it when I was saying that to them behind the scenes. And I'm saying that publicly now because that's how it came to be. It wasn't because they wanted to hire me. Trust me. It was because they knew that they were in a lot of trouble, and they thought that I was joking, saying that I will make your market the best that it's ever been in 6 weeks. So they gave me the money. They put like the fire under me, like in terms of like they wanted to burn me down is what they wanted to do. But the reality is my mom, my entire team with puttingout.com, everybody stepped up. And I said, we're going to make this the best attended market there ever was. Little did I know at the time that I was actually saving jobs in Las Vegas because that market is so big. They had booked out so many hotel rooms that had those hotel rooms remained empty, it would have cost the jobs of a lot of the staff on the ground in Las Vegas. So in other words, if the staff is hired based on mostly tips, number one, okay, that's what they're mostly reliant upon is tips. Even though they get paid an hourly wage, they're mostly reliant upon the tips to live in Las Vegas, okay? So I didn't know that at the time. Listen, I was just trying to fill that market so that my husband's clients, he had basically sold real estate, leased real estate to small vendors, even vendors like myself, who, just wanted to come and show their products. Those vendors, if had there not been anybody there to buy their products, they would have been in a lot of trouble. So anyway, we did that particular project. So that's also, so I became known as the tech exec, the tech guru. This is back in 2012, 2013, 2014. So then I became to know and became friends with Tony Hsieh. That is the CEO of Zappos. Okay. I went to all the Zappos parties. Tony Hsieh and I would meet at the downtown cocktail room, mostly by ourselves. And I never knew why Tony wanted to meet with me by himself, because he was actually wanting out of Zappos. But they they kept giving him agreements. And this is the guy that was supposedly set on fire in the garden shed in early 2020. Okay. What do we know about Wayfair? Okay, let's go to Wayfair. So one of the first calls that I had in February of 2020 was a call from a member of our military's family asking me, is it possible that Wayfair is really trafficking children? And I said, what's very interesting that you call me to ask me if I think Wayfair, if it's possible, because I know it's possible.
Yes.
And I know that Wayfair is not making money. How do I know that Wayfair is not making money? Because yours truly wanted to buy Wayfair in 2010 and 2011. I looked at all of their numbers. I could fundraise anything that I needed to out of Silicon Valley. Okay. Angel investments, all the way from seed funding, AB rounds, whatever anybody needed. I know technology. I know how to pitch it, especially if I believe in it. Well, I knew at the time that people would want to shop for their home online, especially if you could take your measurements and see the scale of the furniture. Okay. They had no interest in any of this. None. And they continued to allow Wayfair to be basically underfunded. Okay. I mean, not underfunded, but they be in the red. Okay. Which is very not normal to keep getting funding when you're constantly in the red. Okay. So I was like, this is really strange. But at the time, I didn't think about child trafficking. I didn't think about how they were making money off of Wayfair. All I knew is that they weren't making money and they had no interest in making money. It was odd. Wow. And if you ordered anything, I actually got really ticked off of Wayfair. And one of the reasons I wanted to purchase Wayfair is because they kept giving away product. If you got a product, David, let's just say you ordered 6 chairs for your dining table. And let's just
I did order something from Wayfair.
They didn't get dropped up.
A piece of junk.
And it was a piece of junk. And did you call them?
Oh, I called them. They sent, let me tell you what I did. I called them. They sent another piece of furniture, and that one had problems. But between the two, I was able to put one together that worked. It lasted for about, a year, and I threw it out at the curb. I know that they were involved in child trafficking. And you know what company is doing it right now? Of retail companies. TEMU.
Well, yep. They're constantly going out. And what that does is, if everybody just realizes that when you're buying from these companies that child traffic, you're actually hurting. Number one, you're hurting your interior designer if you're buying from Wayfair, because number one, your interior designer, your local interior designers, they know what the product is like from an actual market. They have sat in it, they have seen it, they know the quality, and they're probably not going to sell you anything that's a crappy quality. Number one.
Right.
So you wouldn't have that issue. But David, did you know, did you try to get your money back out of Wayfair? Even off of the second piece?
Well, I never tried to do that because when I asked them to send me another one, they did. And I just, I had not spent that much money on it. It was a $200 piece of
okay. But just so you know, if like there is an issue, they'll just give it to people. They don't even like, they're just like, oh, just donate it. Oh, do you want a donation receipt? If you ask them,
yes, they did say that because when I asked them, I said, do you want me to send this one back? Because I was asking for another one. And they said, no, just keep it. We'll send you another one.
That's exactly right. That tells you all that you need to know. This is not a profitable business. They have no intention to profit. Think about it. Anywhere else in America, number one, they would ask for more photos. They would ask for more things. They would not just give you two products that are, like let's just say $600 worth of product. Okay.
Yeah.
And not only that, but they're constantly ship things to the wrong locations. And instead of going and picking them up from the wrong locations and delivering to the correct, they just ship out an entire another set. I'm talking about complete sets of furniture. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we have to ask, what are they trafficking? So that comes from high level military. One of my friends is a wife of high level military. That used to be over in the South Pacific where General Flynn's brother is now. Okay. So for everybody that wants to think Trump and General Flynn are divided, they are not, I assure you. Number one, Trump put General Flynn's brother in the South Pacific. General Flynn is running around the country. He has direct access to Trump. For those of you who think that it's not the real Trump, maybe it's not the real Trump.
Pacific, Christy?
He's a military general in the South Pacific. He took over from Paul Rock.
His brother's still engaged?
Yeah. I mean, the last time I looked, I haven't looked today, Penny. So, I'm going to say the last time I looked, he took over from Paul Rock. Paul Rock then came back to Washington, D.C. Paul Rock also moved to Florida at the same time Trump moved. General Flynn also moved at the same time Trump moved. Okay, so if you think, when you just look at the alliances, it is true. Ann Vander still lives next to General Flynn and Patrick. Okay, so those are facts that I have confirmed.
So yes, Charles A. Flynn, United States Army General, who serves as commanding general of the United States Army Pacific since the 4th of June, 2021. He previously served as Deputy Chief of Staff for Operations Plans and Training of the Army Staff from June 2019 to May 2021. He is the younger brother of Lieutenant General Michael Flynn, Donald Trump's first national security advisor. So it appears from what I'm looking at that he is currently engaged.
That is correct. Okay. So if Biden is in charge, he has left Trump's placement next to Asia. Okay. Would that make sense? No, it does not. Okay. That's our biggest threat is Asia. So when we just look at things, every time I've met with General Flynn, I flew to Tulsa to meet with General Flynn December 2022. Sorry, I'm trying to make sure I get my years correct. December 7th, 2022. There was a group of podcasters invited. I kept avoiding everything from the wine thing. I kept avoiding everything. I would be invited. I would not go. Okay. Because keep in mind, the reason they were inviting me is because they knew I was a good marketer from Las Vegas. Where is Juan? Juan is in Las Vegas. Okay. Well, I interviewed Mike Flynn, obviously. Yeah. Yeah. When he had the big event in 2020.
We're actually running out of time. We're actually running out of time, Christy.
We'll pick up on.
Why don't we pick this up at the bottom of the hour when you come back?
Yes, please.
Sounds good. Isn't it interesting?
Yes, it says that he's in January 25th, 2021, the Department of Defense announced that Flynn, we're talking about the brother, will be the next commander of the United States Army Pacific at Fort Schaffner in Honolulu. He assumed that command after in a change of command ceremony at Fort Shafter, Hawaii, on the 4th of June, 2021. So we're now in 2024. That's as updated as I can find in his wiki. We will return in half an hour for Banana Republic News.
And that's right.
Penny has designed a beautiful opening for that. Yes.
You're going to have one guest, right? You're going to have a guest in between. I just want my audience to know, because I'm streaming to my audience.
One guest in between.
Okay.
And then
that'll be Dr. Reg McDaniel, who is a fabulous individual, and he always comes with some immeasurably good PowerPoint presentations to illustrate nutritional health.
Listen, there's no better show to watch than the Awake Nation. Okay, so
right. Except you guys are starting a show too called Tasker and Shepard.
Yeah, well, I don't even know what our show name is called.
We don't. It's actually Patriots Perspective, and then we're like, working together when I come on the show, and then I'm going to try to help her out with Banana Republic, but she's doing a great job by herself. So anything that I can try to help a little bit, I will.
Listen, it's sadly there's so much to report in the Banana Republic that Penny, I'm not even having to try too hard.
Right.
All right. Well, we'll see you in about 30 minutes. We'll pick it up here at this point. Stay where we are. Don't go anywhere. We'll see you in 30 minutes. Okay.
Okay.
Christi Tasker here on the Awake Nation, back in 30 minutes. Let's just bring in Dr. Reginald McDaniel.
Yes.
Let's quest. Dr. McDaniel, welcome back to the Awake Nation. How are you today, sir?
I'm cold. It's cold in Texas.
It is. I'm in Texas too. It's freezing, and there's still snow on the ground in the ranch.
Yes, same thing. And of course, I'm sitting here trying to get warm, just getting to my office.
Right.
And it's seldom is it 15 to 20 degrees in Texas.
That's true. But and when it is, that's pretty bad, because I lived in Texas for a while in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And you could go out swimming in your swimming pool on Thanksgiving. That's how it's generally pretty warm. But when you do get cold, you're not prepared for it. The body's not prepared for it.
Absolutely truth. And today we will be talking about the white box effect. And I'd like to give a few moments to say what is the purpose of this PowerPoint lecture series. And it's primarily to communicate with a population that we have in our country that is indoctrinated with the idea that if you've got a physical, mental, or emotional problem, we got a drug for it.
Yeah.
It's in patent. It's an exploitive price. And I won't go into that, the excellent examples that are going on right now. But in this lecture series, we've talked about the blue zones that the World Health Organization has identified, where people live longer in better health up into their 90s and over 100, independent living, alert and in good health, and how it came about. And they're primarily islands or isolated peninsulas where people have a diet that is primarily vegetable diet, and it's broad diet, many different kind of molecules in their diet that support cellular synthesis for optimal health. And that also exercise is very important. And in these blue zones, these people are not going to gyms. It's either working in their gardens or farming or fishing or herding animals that they get exercise with their daily activity. And they avoid lifestyles that are unhealthy, and they have an increased number of things that are lifestyles that are happy. And this is one of the things that comes into mind with the white box effect. And also in my office here, I've had a bishop from India twice visiting with me because he'd written a pamphlet that there are more millions of people living in absolute abject poverty in India than anywhere else in the world. And you might know it's come due to socialism in that country, and that's another long story. But there are not the resources in India to provide the Western medicine approach to health. And he recognized from our presentation for the United Nations that optimized diet with exercise and healthy lifestyles is the way to go. And your bottom line to the bottom of your screen has there about getting the spray glutathione. And I wanted to point out that in the dietary supplement that we speak of, that I've spent 38 years developing, that we have cysteine, which is a complex amino acid, which is the rate limiting amino acid in our American diet that is present in cruciferous vegetables. And this is required to produce glutathione, which is very important in your cells to promote good health. So with this, we would go to the first slide, the white box phenomenon. And it started, where that term came from is because the FDA has labels they call the black box that have more toxicity and untoward side effects than the usual drugs. And the white box is something that's good. And our first case was in a dentist in Arkansas, and he had about 5 different health challenges. And lo and behold, he was smart enough and alert enough that the most serious threats to life were the first things addressed, like anything that's infectious will wipe you out and destroy your health probably quicker than anything. That would be the first thing to respond. And then it would get into malignancies and autoimmune disease. And finally, it'd end up with, say, middle ear infections or athlete's foot or jock itch or something. The least, like there's an internal wisdom of the body to address and correct different defects in the order of which they're the greatest threat to the body. And of course, strokes and heart attacks and blood clots in the blood vessels and kidney failure and lung damage and bone marrow failure are serious things. And lo and behold, these are addressed in the metabolism of our body if we have optimal nutrition. And this is not a new idea. And as I keep trying to tell people, I'm just a servant and messenger, because this is long ago recognized. Even Hippocrates, the father of Western medicine, if you look on Google for quotations from Hippocrates, he wrote, quote, "If we could provide to the individual the proper or optimal nutrition, not too much, combined with exercise, not too much, not too little, we would have found the safest pathway to good health." And then underneath it, he wrote, "Let your food be your medicine and your medicine your food." So that's what we're really focusing on today. And let's go to the second slide.
All right, very good.
Now, as I told you, our first case was an individual in Arkansas that was a dentist. And then time and again, we saw it over and over again, this step by step, as the body would address different things that would improve the health that were the most threatening to our life. Next slide, please.
All right.
This is an amazing thing, I think. And the bishop from India had a church clinic in Kerala, and he thought this was so important to the huge millions that were in abject poverty that it was set up that we would have laptops and enter the entire history of what the health challenges were to the individual, and then start them on more optimal nutrition to see if we could prove this white box effect, because actually the white box effect kind of is between my ears and has never been tested. And he came to the United States and went around to very successful Indians that had made a fortune in our capitalist economy, and tried to get them to donate enough money to run this clinic in Kerala, India, to prove this up. Well, this failed. So he went to the Arab immigrants. And if you'll notice in your cell phone topics under Google, that they have so much money from oil that some of them have even tried to enlarge their beaches to increase the area of their country, and planted and irrigated all the way to their summer home across the desert. They just got so much money going. And the royal families there take care of the health of the entire country, and said, if you will donate to run this clinic, we will give you the information that we can decrease the cost of the health for your family, because we can prove up potentially this white box effect, that if you optimize nutrition, that the body will handle the problems in your body in a stepwise manner, from the most serious to the least life-threatening. And that failed too. So this has not been tested because this bishop wanted to take it to all the states in India if we could prove this, because there is no way that country has the resources to practice Western medicine and diagnostic procedures. Next slide, please. Mm-hmm. We produced I'd say we were invited by the Office for Food and Agriculture, that is a branch of the World Health Organization in Rome, to speak at a conference, and the title was "A Modern Dietary Supplementation Provides a Promise for an Economic and Effective Means to Improve Health Status of Mass Populations." Now, how would that apply to the United States? Well, because of our indoctrination by the sickness industry, the United States has the highest healthcare costs of all the member nations of the United Nations. The last figures I had was $10,300 per citizen per year, and rapidly increasing. Periodically, the World Health Organization evaluates the health status and quality of life of the member nations, and lo and behold, the United States came in number 35th. One of the reasons for this is, in some of these third world countries, if you eat, you plant the seed, you cultivate it, you take care of it, you allow the plant produce of food to mature on the plant, so that the genes in the plant can put the nutrients that we require when we eat the fruits or vegetables. It took me a while to realize that when in the 1940s, when I was a kid, that most of your grocery stores were owned by a local family, and there were very few things that they had there that were more than 50 miles away. And there were many fruits and vegetables you could only have about 4 to 6 weeks a year during the growing season of the area. Well, what has changed since 1940? We have markets or grocery stores that are national chains, and we have an agribusiness that, lo and behold, they make it possible that you can have watermelon, raspberries, strawberries, blueberries, you name it, 12 months of the year. How do they do this? They follow the growth zones across the country, and unfortunately, they pick the produce green. When you pick it green, the principal molecule in the plant is chlorophyll. Now, chlorophyll is an incredible molecule. It just isn't required by the cells in cellular synthesis. And the molecules for the nutrients that your genes require in cellular synthesis to make bioactive compounds that run the biochemistry and physiology of life are not put in the plant until it begins to ripen on the plant. So this is a problem, and unfortunately, in the dietary supplement industry, you can go out into the agricultural area and you can see it, a fruit or vegetable ripening on the plant. Well, in the past, you had to throw it on the ground because it would be rotten by the time it got to the market. Right. However, now you can rush it to the freeze dryer. Important, you freeze it and you put it under a vacuum to remove all the water, and all these very important molecules are present that make it possible that if you add them in a supplement such as the New Eden that we speak of in this program, that is the result of decades of trying to find the right type of dietary supplement ingredients to optimize the health, to promote the white box effect that we mentioned, that we have seen now over and over again, that is a theory that we wanted to validate in the Kerala clinic in India. So this presentation of the United Nations, the title being A Modern Dietary Supplementation, which is our New Eden, provides promise for an economical and effective means to improve health status of mass populations. Well, that is what is provided to the individual that makes it possible that the white box effect can be seen. Next slide, please. Mm-hmm. That bishop from India saw that United Nations type of thing. Now, I told you about the bishop coming, and he had written this pamphlet that there's no way in India that they could use Western medicine, diagnostic and therapeutic things. And so we were wanting to use this clinic to do this, because optimal nutrition is safe beyond compare. It's effective because it supports the engineering and design of life that is coded in the DNA that's in the chromosomes, the genes in every cell in your body. And it is the most economical approach for any individual. And in this time of inflation and the high costs that we have in the United States for health, that white box is something that is very desirable. How much more time do we have?
10 minutes.
Pardon me?
10 minutes.
10 minutes. Next slide, please.
All right.
This is part of the picture on the front of the pamphlet that Dr. Bishop Abraham Karnak made in regard to the situation in India. And from even in the Sanskrit, there is recognition of the importance of what people eat in regard to how healthy they can be. And one of these is from the Book of Wisdom. It says, "The Lord has brought forth herbs from the ground, and no one sensible will despise them." That is trying to point out that it's wise to take advantage of the produce that's in nature, because in New Eden, there's not an ingredient that does not come from nature. And this was recognized by Bishop Carnac. Next slide, please. As I told you, tried as rapidly as possible about what the Bishop Carnac tried to do and how he failed, and it still is a waiting to be done because anecdotal reports can be stacked up to tell you what kind of formal research needs to be done. And this white box effect needs to be properly thing, but you don't have to wait. You can start right now, as I make a point that you don't have to move to one of the blue zones that the World Health Organization has identified as isolated islands and peninsulas where things haven't changed, because fresh fruit franchises don't go where there are low populations. They have to have volume. And that's why these islands and these isolated peninsulas, but there's excellent example that in the blue zones, that in California, just east of Los Angeles, is the site for the Seventh-day Adventist in Loma Linda, California, and that is one of the blue zones that right in the middle of heavy populations, because the Seventh-day Adventists look to particularly Daniel 1, which is in the Bible, where the Jewish population had been taken to Babylonia, and King Antiochus noted that the Arab young men were muscular, robust, they had great energy, they could work longer and harder and recover from fatigue. And he said he wanted them in his service and wanted them to come to his castle and eat at the table of the king and have the greatest food from the kingdom. And they said, no, we don't want that. We want fruits and vegetables and water. And he said, oh, no, I want you to have the best. And they said, well, let's do a test. And so they do a test. It's there in Daniel 1. And sure enough, the ones that were in service to the king eating at his table didn't have the physical robustness of the Jewish young men. And he said, okay, you can have your fruits and vegetables and water, and you won't have to drink the wine and other things that we have here on the table. Well, this is exactly what the blue zones have identified at different places on the globe. And this is what you can implement, and you don't have to move there. By one of the things is adding to your diet the contents of New Eden, which has about 15 different food substances and is close to as without being extracted or processed as you can find. And as in a project that I did for the National Health Organization that saw the results we were having in patients, that they said some of these ingredients have maybe 100 different plant molecules in it. We can't find what the molecule is to make it as a drug to improve the health of American citizens. And I met with them 3 times trying to tell them that is not the way the biochemistry and the human physiology and biochemistry works, that our genes require dozens, if not hundreds or more different nutrient molecules that are hooked together in cellular synthesis to make bioactive molecules that optimally operate the biochemistry and the physiology of life, which is the genes are all programmed for normal balance and health in the cells. And this is not a new idea. Again, I emphasize that I'm just a messenger and a servant, because Hans Selye, the father of human physiology, is given that term, called this balance in our cells homeostasis, that all the cells of all the organs have a basic need for nutrients to have optimal biochemistry. Now, the genes in the liver and the genes in the kidney and endocrine glands or the muscles or the bone have very different functions. So different genes are turned on and different genes are turned off, depending on which organ it is. But all the cells of all the organs require certain things to optimize their health. And what we do is meet that with these ingredients from 14 different plants, and that some of them contain dozens of different molecules that are made in nature. And so this leads to the fact that the body in its programming that is in the genes can address deviations from normal. And incredibly, there is a innate wisdom, apparently, or understanding in the metabolism of the body to take the most health threatening conditions and step by step improve them until the least is the last thing to be addressed. So with this, I think we've pretty well covered the 30 minutes and the phenomenon that we observe with optimal nutrition, which one of the steps to do this, to be able to, in your own home, in your own diet, to develop the key factors in the blue zones that have been identified by the World Health Organization, that starts with diet, with exercise, with avoiding unhealthy lifestyles like drinking excess alcohol.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest things is smoking. In other words, burning trash and sucking it into your lungs is not healthy. And exchanging body fluids with other individuals is not healthy either. And so this combination of diet, exercise, and a good lifestyle. And one of the first steps we can do is we keep bringing up again and again, adding these ingredients from nature, which are allowed the produce to ripen on the plant, rush it to the freeze dryer, and in this process called lyophilization, even enzymes retain their functional activity, and cooking is something that destroys it. And one of our lectures is how about 40% of what you eat should be raw.
I agree with that. I agree with that 100%, especially your vegetables. I prefer crunchy raw vegetables.
Yes.
Cooked wilted vegetables.
And last night on my cell phone, I was shocked that a veterinarian essentially gave the contents of my lectures of how this can double the lifespan of your dogs and your cats by adopting the same diet approach that we've been approaching with all these lectures for your animals. And he freeze dries his food for animals, that you just add water to it and the animals love it. And you have all these nutrients, and the animal's health and longevity is increased just like it is in humans.
I have a question for you. Could you give your pets New Eden? You put in their food?
I don't spend a lot of time on that, but we've had veterinarians. In fact, for a long period of time on Saturdays, we had just veterinarians getting together about how this was doing wonderful things in animals that no drug had ever done.
All right. Well, maybe it's something to consider, but it's definitely good for you folks. And you can get the New Eden supplement. It's not a supplement. It's New Eden Nutrition. Go to our website, theawakenation.com. There's a picture of the jar right there on the homepage. Order a couple of them. Take a scoop in the morning, scoop at night. Best delivery system is yogurt. And it's delicious and nutritious, and it's going to make you feel 100% better, and we love it, and we love Dr. Reg McDaniel. Let's pick up this white box. There's more to be said in this lecture here that we didn't get to today, but let's pick it up next time, Dr. McDaniel, because I would like to learn more about this. So the next time you come on, let's pick it up from there.
Well, the white box is something that's available to everyone, and you don't have to move to the blue zones to get the benefit for your improved health.
Sounds fantastic. Dr. McDaniel, thank you so much once again. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Dr. Reginald McDaniel here on the Awake Nation. And now we're going to bring back Christi Tasker, and Penny. Hit the intro.
Welcome to Banana Republic News. We don't monkey around with the truth. Meet your host and creator of Banana Republic News, Christi Tasker, international investigative journalist situated in Miami. Christi covers hot topics the MSN won't touch. She covers crime, government corruption, conspiracies, and the entire political spectrum from Trump to DeSantis with the unbiased eyes of a seasoned world traveler and investigative journalist. She also covers art, fashion, food, music. She utilizes undercover methodologies, and no topic goes uncovered. For Christi Tasker is a formidable, deep researcher. Many do duck and cover when they see her coming. Banana Republic News begins now.
And you were brought back to the stage. And I think David thought that your intro was a little bit longer than it is. So I'll continue.
Well, look, I wore my banana leaves. I wore my banana leaf shirt today. Yeah, in honor. Yeah, everybody, look, banana leaf shirt.
Oh my God. You have the greatest clothes. Did you design that?
No, not this.
Okay, because you designed pretty much everything. You're just so multifaceted that I can't even, I mean, every day I find out something new that you did, and the depth of your research and your experiential history and all of the different businesses that you've been involved with as a designer, as
it's all happened organically, Penny. It's all happened organically. It's absolutely insane. Even when I look back on it, I'm like, did that really happen? Did that really happen? No, it really happened. It really happened. And you know what I've learned is
and your dog too.
Oh yeah, my dog. My dog used to be Insta famous, but Instagram kind of took down his like really? I think it was either
say something political.
8,000 followers. You know, he didn't say anything, believe it or not, Penny. He was just running around and people would laugh. He was actually making people laugh during COVID. So
was that a problem?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. I mean, I even
What's
have
your dog's name?
It's Bentley and Aston. So I have two now. So Bentley is almost 13 now? 12, 13. Okay. We don't really do the dog birthdays. We barely do people birthdays. Okay. So I'm not really good at,
I don't know. I've seen some cakes your mom made and they're pretty fabulous.
Yeah. But we kind of forget about the dogs. Listen, unlike my friend Tina, you know, I don't have a monkey. I don't hold dog birthday parties and I don't hold monkey birthday parties.
You don't?
But I have had clients and friends that do have monkeys, and they do have birthday parties for their monkeys and their dogs. Okay. So for now, I'll just keep my monkeys in my products.
We have too many dogs to make that, that just bankrupt us. We're just trying to keep them in food right now.
Right.
Is that one of those, is that a monkey in your pocket?
Yeah, look. So I'll show you.
Or is that a banana in your pocket for the monkey that you're holding?
Yeah.
So on Banana Republic News, I created a GIF with my products for ChristiTasker.com. I created this gift because, you know, I am my own advertiser at the top of my website. So, you know, so look at the monkey swinging in.
Okay. I couldn't actually see it. I was like, is that someone on a stripper pole?
No, those are earrings going in, and then there's the monkey like coming in.
Okay. Though I'm sure there are some strippers that look that bad.
Yeah. So this is the new Banana Republic news, everybody. So please make sure that you go on and you subscribe. You want to hit the little newsletter thing up here. Follow all of us on social here. We're just getting started with everything. So you might find like there's some empty pockets on the site, Penny, until maybe you have something to write or somebody else. Right. I have a couple of articles that people have sent me. That
I will be writing. You know, I promised David also that I will be writing. Unfortunately, it's, you know, I've been inundated with other things. So like at 12 o'clock at night, I'm like, no, not writing. Okay. Just going to get some sleep to get up in the morning.
Because what happens is something will happen like this. Okay. In the Banana Republic that we're living in. Okay. So going on back to, you know, our stories, you know, we're in story time here. By the way, let me actually flip over to this tab because hold on, let's actually go to this tab instead because we were talking about this earlier. So this is the art that I was referencing at the end of the last segment. Oh, wow. So this is Miguel's art. So I've posted this so you guys can see it on Patriots Perspective. Should be on the Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter right now. I'll post it on the other sites as well, on Telegram and on True Social. Yeah, so that's what he created. We'll have to find out from him what he was really thinking because I haven't spoken to Miguel about like exactly what he was thinking. So I'd rather him say in his own words what he's thinking. But either way, to me, it doesn't look very good.
Wow.
Well, we'll have to get his.
I don't think he's a Trump supporter, but
no, I don't think he's a supporter of either of them. Is what my thoughts are. So anyway, I
missed that. So can you make that bigger?
Yeah, hold on. Let's make.
I had to let Lily in.
Okay, you missed it. Hold on. Let's see.
Yeah, it's snow. It's snow outside, by the way, Christy.
Oh my gosh, that's
it hasn't melted. Feels like it's snowing inside.
So he's got the.
Doesn't want to know it's sunny and 79.
Yeah, it's 79 here, Penny.
Really?
Oh. And
remind me to come and slap your mama.
I know. Right? She's the one in the background saying, "I'll see it's 79 here. When is she coming?"
I'm there. If I had the money for a plane, I'd be there.
So much for not advocating violence on this show.
Yeah, we're not advocating violence. Listen, I just realized that I think Miguel gave Trump gold teeth.
Okay, so like a gangsta.
Yeah, he gave him like gangster
very,
gold teeth.
Very net worth 9.6 trillion ounces, 272 grams, 272 grams. Can you make it go down a little bit so I can see the top of it?
Okay.
This is like a painting, right?
It is a painting. Yeah, no, it is a painting. He's an artist. He's an amazing artist.
Okay, what's he got? Is he got fruity pebbles on his brain with the storm?
I don't know. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking it's actually very berry on his brain.
Right. So it's a storm. The storm is a coming.
Yeah,
he's got a time thing.
He's got a funny sense of humor. I think it's a bomb, actually. I think that's
is that a pressure cooker thing? Like you stick
yeah. That's what I think it is. Yeah.
Okay. And then what's the other thing? A whistle, like a train whistle? Woo! That thing on the side, on the other side.
I don't know. We'll have to, like I said, we'll have to ask him. His work is normally. Hold on. Let me go out of this one. Sorry, audience. I know when we.
Wow.
Hold on. Let's.
Yeah, I want to see. Dark chocolate. Wow, he's like got blood all over him and stuff.
Yeah, I don't know why, what he had against Ben Carson.
Maybe he read his book.
Well, I mean, it does look like he has on like a jester costume or something.
Count Chocula.
Doc Chocula.
Right.
Doc Chocula.
Right, from Count Chocula, the cereal. Right?
Yeah. Yep. So Miguel's work, and I don't want to waste too much time because listen, we've got so much Banana Republic news to cover.
Go ahead.
And also, you just told me that you're probably going to come on the Dark Outpost too. So we'll be featuring Banana Republic news on the Dark Outpost. So Christi Tasker is so multifaceted; she's everywhere too.
Yes, yeah.
That's because I know weird people like this.
Who's that? Is that the artist?
This is Miguel. This is the artist. Yeah.
Nice. We should have him on.
Yeah, we'll have him on. I'll invite him to be on. Hold on, let's see. I didn't mean to go off, David.
No. It's okay. I can put you right back in. Just
okay. Look, so let me explain to everybody what's been happening. If you guys remember a while back, we talked about the precinct strategy, okay, that everybody needs to be a part of. Whether you're a Democrat, Republican, you need to be a part of your local GOP. And this is why. Because we've got GOP leaders in Florida who literally are having menage a trois.
wow.
And they're not only having
in case you don't know what that means, it's a French word for threesome orgies.
Yes.
Right.
Okay. And so here we are. If you wonder, like I meet these people, okay, and I get these feelings about them, and they're not always good, okay?
Right.
So this guy, okay, let me just explain to everybody, because everybody's going to be like, oh, but how do you know, Christi? Oh my gosh, how do you know? Well, number one, I've met this guy before, Christian Ziegler. I met him this night that this photo was taken, okay?
Okay.
He is the head of the Republicans in all of Florida for DeSantis. He works on the DeSantis campaign, okay? So when Trump is saying...
Oh, right. This is a great story. I'm sorry, Christi. Go ahead.
Yeah. No. So I'm just explaining to everybody how it matters to you. So when Trump is not able to get on the ballot in these states, it's because of people like him who are having affairs, who are gay, who are having like all these like crazy like lesbian affairs, but yet at the same time,
is that the thing with the Flintstones, Christi? We'll have a gay old time.
Well, I will have a gay old time.
It was a different kind of
I
gay.
think that might have been a different gay. I think that might have been a fun old time, Penny. Okay, so let's go through here. Well, let's go through here. Okay, so not only this, but this woman here. She is what I call the Miami mob mom. Okay, everybody got that? Her name is Liliana Ross.
And she's Republican.
She's Republican. She's ahead of the Republican Party for Miami-Dade for the state level. Okay, so what does that mean? She runs cover for every Republican in Miami-Dade. Okay, in Miami-Dade. The Republican Party actually leases property from this woman. You can't even make this stuff up. They don't even try to hide. Okay. So in other words, she runs the Republican Party, but the good news is she's going to be elected. She's up for election. Okay. So she's going to be on the ballot when we all go for the primary election here in August. Here in Florida, in Miami-Dade, this woman is going to be on the ballot. And guess whose name is going to be on the ballot with her? Anybody want to guess? Yours truly, because no one else wants to run against her.
God, I love you, Christi.
I refuse to let the criminals keep winning. Okay. This woman covered for Alex Diaz de la Portilla. Okay, the man who was arrested, that's the commissioner that was arrested, okay, for racketeering, money laundering, fraud, corruption. I mean, like you name it, he was arrested. Okay, let's just go and look at his actual arrest warrants because, I mean, you can't even make this stuff up. I mean, this is insane. All right. And so for everybody out there that's going, oh, this is a Republican. He's a Republican, Christi. Like all the Democrats tell me, no, he's a Republican, Christi. Oh, no, this guy was in the Democrat Party being propped up by the Democrats. I'm going to remind you, here he is on the Democrat website. See this? Miami-Dade Democrat Party. Okay, everybody? Miami-Dade Democrat Party. District 5 election. Let's see if they've removed it. Don't worry. I have a screenshot of it if they have. Because they're constantly trying to remove his image. Hold on. Let's see if we can go directly to it. Because I want to show you guys live how we can go directly to these things. Hold on. Sorry, David. I'm going to keep messing up here, and you're going to keep having to add me because, okay. So let's see if we're able to visit this exact image. No, they've removed the image off the page. However, the good thing is we have a backup of the image and everything. So I keep telling everybody, notice Eileen Higgins is our current commissioner in District 5. She ran against Alex Diaz de la Portilla. This is a Democrat candidacy flyer. He has his record, his voting record covered up, but yet he was the county state committee man, which means that he represented our entire county at the state level for the Republican Party of Miami-Dade County. But yet he was promoted by the Democrats. Why was he promoted by the Democrats, everybody? Let's just go on and let's just search Alex Diaz de la Portilla. Let's search Qatar. Okay, let's for the fun of it. What do you think? Let's just search Qatar. Okay, so let's see. Was Alex Diaz de la Portilla in Qatar? In Qatar, and who was he in Qatar with? Okay, let's see. Who was he in Qatar with? This is not hard to find out. Okay, who is he in Qatar with? Oh, Miami-Dade Qatar trip shows mayoral advisor Christian Olvert's pull and power. Well, that is because Christian Olvert is the Democrat campaign manager. And guess who rules Christian Olvert? Not her. She's one of his clients, okay? She's sitting here with the leader of Qatar. But here we have Alex Diaz de la Portilla standing right beside the guy, showing you he's the one in power here because he's the one who is the mastermind behind both parties. That is for any of the established politicians. He is the campaign manager. He was District 1 City of Miami Commissioner.
And tell our audience what happened to him. Was he not arrested?
He was arrested. That is correct.
Or
he was correct. He was arrested for racketeering, robbery, money laundering, and yours truly was the only one to call him out. Okay, this is not news that anybody else is going to give you. They're not going to give you these connections. They're not going to show you what's really happening here. Okay, so this is on Christi for Miami, and there's all the proofs and everything here. Okay, again, I've exposed them all from the very beginning. We can go back to where I called them all greedy politicians because they are. Okay, and we're going to go through and we're going to see Alex Diaz de la Portilla tried to get his competitor out of the race. Okay, by literally gerrymandering the maps. You can't even make this stuff up. Okay.
Right. I remember you telling us about that.
Yes. So this is the guy. They're all connected, Penny. It's very hard for people to see. Hold on. Let's see. Here we go. Arrested. Here we go. Here he is arrested. So here he got out arrested. I was the first to call out the coup d'etat. Okay. This man has conducted a coup d'etat against our government. Okay. And I'm not backing down from the coup d'etat because he literally was trying to take over our entire government. All right. He was arrested for money laundering, bribery, and further abuse of power.
Anything going on with that arrest, Chrissy, that you know of?
Well, we think right now he might be trying to save his own butt by exposing others. Okay. So I just want to remind everybody that's what's really happening here. Okay. So you've got Alex Diaz de la Portilla. All right. So let's go. Okay. And then Alex Diaz de la Portilla would have been under this man who is.
Okay. So he was under him?
He was under him at the.
Because I was reading I was reading in the wiki, it says, do the allegations, they asked him to step down. So it said, do the allegations, every statewide elected official and the state legislators, presiding officers, all Republicans, called on Ziegler to resign, but he refused. On December 17, 2023, the executive committee of the Florida Republican Party met in Orlando and censored Ziegler, stripped him of his duties, delegated them to the then vice chairman, Evan Power, which is why I was asking you, was Evan there in Qatar, lowered his annual salary to $1 and scheduled an emergency meeting in Tallahassee for January 8th, 2024 for the full party to vote on his removal if he did not resign before then. Ziegler was removed as chairman of the Florida Republican Party on January 8, 2024 by a vote of 199-3. He did not appear for the vote. Evan Power was selected to replace him. Ziegler remains under criminal investigation for the rape of this individual. And so apparently Evan Power is the Austin Powers of Florida.
Yep. Okay. So if anybody wants to see, you don't believe I was there, I stuck my head up right back here.
Well, you were tall enough you didn't even need to stick your head up.
Yeah. See me right there? There I am. Okay. But and I do have photos with him, but I didn't post my photos with him because I had a feeling this guy was not good, because this guy spent 20 minutes out of a meeting out of a regular GOP meeting trying to tell my opponent, who was pregnant, what to do for her race, how to run her campaign. Well, that's because this guy also claims to have run the campaign. He's running the campaign for DeSantis. He claims to have run the campaign.
What's his name again? What's his name?
His name is Christian Ziegler. Okay.
Christian Ziegler. We should do like a whole expose on him on Dark Echoes.
Oh, well, we'll do a whole expose on him because listen, we only have just a few minutes left, right? Okay. Because I gotta make sure our audience sees not only that, but what's happened. So we're gonna go to the short clips of Billy Corbin. We're gonna give Billy Corbin some attention here. However, I want everybody to realize Billy Corbin is a paid operative. Okay. Billy Corbin gives half truths. Okay. Billy Corbin is paid most likely by Bill Fuller. If we were to audit Billy Corbin's bank accounts, if we could do that, we would see that it is Billy Corbin that is most likely, behind a lot of different things, because Billy Corbin shows up to give his public comment.
With a few exceptions, most of the people in charge are not public servants. You exploit the public to serve yourselves. You ask not what you can do for the city, but what the city can do for you, for your cronies, for your spouses. We have a city manager who doesn't even live in the city, who writes checks with taxpayer money and hands them to his wife for overpriced office furniture. We have a city attorney who also doesn't live in the city, who is being sued for a house flipping scheme with her husband that allegedly exploits and deceives elderly homeowners. We have Francis Suarez, nice of you to show up, who works as a private concierge mayor for millionaire and billionaire clients, a mayor who will sell his public office to anyone, anywhere, for any price, even for imaginary coins. We have one city
He is literally shaking his head. Yes, that's what he does.
commissioner who is arrested, and another who uses the budgets of Bayfront Park and the Tower Theater as slush funds and allegedly uses vendors for kickbacks to him and his wife. Fortunately, the U.S. Marshals will be taking that money off your hands soon. The city is drowning in a sea of scandals, unethical and possibly illegal conduct. I can't imagine what this must be like for our new commissioners, Gabella and Pardo. Some of your colleagues in this administration are already weaponizing your own government against you. It's in the agenda. But you all have a chance to prove me wrong. Your critics, the press, all of us wrong today. There's two items on the agenda that are litmus tests for the Miami Mafia, RE11 and RE19. RE11, please end the humiliating tenure of mob lawyer Vicky Mendez, the enabler and co-conspirator in much of this misconduct that has embarrassed the city all over the world for so many years. And RE19, without casting aspersions on the project itself, we all know that this real estate deal was the subject of an indictment in which one of your colleagues that you served with up here for years, some of you, was arrested for bribery, money laundering, and campaign finance crimes. Are you a corrupt cabal, or are you capable of doing the right thing? Vote yes to terminate the revocable license. In the meantime, Commissioners Gabella and Pardo and the good city employees out there, stand strong. We have your backs. We support you and the hundreds of decent, hardworking city employees who are being held hostage in this toxic free-for-all of fear, intimidation, and revenge. The bullies will not win. We will fight their lies with the truth. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Wow.
Madam Chair,
Good morning.
we would like to ask Mr. Corbin if he can represent pursuant to the city code how he's been paid to be here. And the things that he is alleging with regard to my husband that he is involved in personally, and Miss Denise Galvez back there who went and found a guy to sue me and my husband in order for you to have a reason to come before the commission and ask for my job. The reason why I've lasted over 10.5 years is because of my integrity. The reason why people like you get to bully me every day and I don't lose sleep over you is because you are a vile little man.
I will remember you. Hashtag because Miami.
Okay, there we go.
He does the best stuff, man.
Okay. And in the same meeting, hold on. Here we go.
I just want to establish a point of order. It's going to be the new trend of the chair and this body to, first of all, allow anybody to come and speak out on anything that's not in the agenda.
Really?
Well,
We have always had the policy that people
yes,
come
we do.
to speak on what's the agenda. If they want to speak on something else that's not in the agenda, they could go through the proper channels and get time to come in and address this body.
Sir, we're in the United States of America. We're in the United States of America. Last time I checked, and citizens, and on that one,
Sergeant at Arms,
I don't agree.
Commissioner Gabella, please.
He might
As
be
I
not
was-
talking the truth
Commissioner
or anything
Gabella,
else, but this is
Commissioner
not
Gabella,
correct.
please.
Okay.
One.
Well, I can speak. He's
Yes,
speaking. I have the right to
I'm
speak.
stopping him from speaking as well. And you don't have to overspeak me.
Madam Chair, we have this conversation.
Commissioner Gabella,
I'm not
Commissioner
overspeaking.
Gabella.
This is my tone of voice. I can't help myself,
I
ma'am.
understand.
I'm not disrespecting you.
I
Please.
understand. I understand. Commissioner Croyo, please let me make my statement. You will have an opportunity to address after public comment. You will.
I just want to establish a point of order.
Shut it.
It's going to be the new trend of the chair and this body.
New trend.
First of
Of
all,
what body?
allowed anybody to come and speak out on anything that's not in the agenda.
Well,
We have always had the policy that people
yes,
come
we do.
to speak on what's the agenda. If they want to speak on something else that's not in the agenda, they could go through the proper channels and get time to come in and address this body.
Sir, we're in the United States of America. We're in the United States of America. Last time I checked, and citizens, and on that one,
Sergeant at Arms,
I don't agree.
Commissioner Gabella, please.
He might
As
be
I
not
was-
talking the truth
Commissioner
or anything
Gabella,
else, but this is
Commissioner
not
Gabella,
correct.
please.
Get out the house.
One.
Oh, I
have
can
to go
speak. He's
Yes,
speaking. I have the right
I'm
to speak.
stopping him from speaking as well. And you don't have to overspeak me.
Okay, I think that was a duplicate. Okay, so then the meeting ends.
Establish a point of order.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be the new trend
Yeah.
of the chair and this
Yes,
body
duplicate.
to,
Yeah.
first of all,
Hold on, let's see. Hold on.
Unfortunately, we're just about out of time here again. I hate. But
That's okay. It's okay. Listen, go to Banana Republic News. David, if I can just say this really quick.
yes.
If we think this is it, wait until you see this article, Penny, the stranger. Okay. I'm not joking. This is about our school board member. We have not even Miami News is so blatantly out there, Banana Republic style. We can't even make this stuff up, everybody. So please make sure that you follow David. I thank you for the time. And
I thank you.
And
We'll do a dark outpost with you as well. We'll do a dark outpost with you as well, and we'll definitely You can broadcast Banana Republic News on here too. I mean, we're happy to carry it for you. So,
well, that'd be great. Thank you, David.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Christi. We'll talk to you real soon.
God bless you. Okay. Bye-bye.
Okay. Christi Tasker here on the Awake Nation.
Wow.
Yeah. But I love when she exposes these clowns.
Wow, 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 wow,
wow. Wow, 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 wow. We got to do that together. We'll take a quick break, and then wow, 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 wow. We're going to have none other than the great Jinny Silcox. We're going to talk about Power Grid Down right after this. And welcome back to the Awake Nation with Penny L.A. Shepard, David Zublick with you. And joining us now is Jinny Silcox.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. A little cold, but
yes.
How is it where you are?
4 degrees? All right.
Yeah.
I've got 9. You
I
got
have
4.
9.
I got 13, and I'm
13?
dressed like, I say it on my Facebook profile, I'm from Antarctica. And I'm in Antarctica, but it kind of feels like it.
Yeah, sure does. All the more to be important talking about power outages, huh?
Yes, and as a matter of fact, what's weird about this, Jinny, is that the movie that they did, the documentary, Power Outage, or is it Power Out? I actually contacted them. And so when I got your thing, I was like, is this from the movie? Because I contacted them and they are going to come on the show.
Oh, cool. Cool. Well, I've got some insights from a person from the Department of Energy. How about that?
Nice.
So, but I was a contractor for the Department of Energy. I want to keep that clear because I'm not a lifer in the government. The thing about contractors is they get to do all the work. And that puts you right in the trenches. And the other thing about it is that I don't know why this is, but I was one of the few training designers there for the emergency operations that actually knew anything about electricity.
Oh, wow. I'll bet.
Wow. Okay, that's a terrible thought.
Kind of. Well, and ultimately when you design training, the validity and importance of everything that you say in your training has already been gone over by a subject matter expert. And that's usually a lifer in the Department of Energy that will assess every word you write for its political nature and its impact.
Mm.
And basically, it's cover your butt type subject matter experts. So yeah, absolutely honest about it. It's what it is. But one thing I want to make clear, a lot of people say there are 3 power grids, and that's one way of looking at it. But there are subgrids, and the grids across the nation trade power. If let's say there's a storm in Minnesota, so the grid supplier up there might be buying power from Florida.
Okay.
They shift.
Can you explain how that works?
What was that?
Can you explain how that works? How does
the thing about electricity? Yeah, electricity it's one of those things that's there are devices that can store electricity, but when we're talking about grid usage, we're talking about huge quantities of amperage, huge amounts of electricity, and to have capacitors to store enough electricity, say to supply a small town, that takes some infrastructure that we mainly do not have. So what they do is they look ahead and they predict demand, and then they make pre-arrangements with other suppliers that have a surplus. And so there's an entire national switching network that can trade, send an area of plenty to an area of deficit. And so they kind of have to do it in real time. So the infrastructure that supports all that is completely open to cyber attack.
I was going to say that the security level of that has got to be horrific. I mean,
it's horrific, and we're going to talk about it because do you remember a while back there was a pipeline company in the South that had a ransomware attack?
Yes.
And then all of a sudden, people in Georgia and Alabama and places like that had no gas because that company had to pay millions to be able to get control back of their pipeline. And that was a ransomware attack that worked. And so for every ransomware attack that works, there are probably 300 that didn't work.
Wow.
So, and the thing about that pipeline is that was supplying gasoline to a huge, like an eighth of the nation. That was no small thing. That was extremely frightening. I'm sure there are still officials that go to bed with nightmares over that one. So one of the things, I put this picture of a substation here. This is one of the switching stations that will take power coming from an area of surplus and switch it over to an area that needs it. That's exactly when you see these things out there, that's their function. In fact, we have one outside of this town to the east that drives me nuts because it looks exactly like this one. And if you notice, it's a chain link fence. That's the only security it has.
Yeah.
Right. That's so secure.
Yeah. And there was an incident where in California, I almost took the video for that, but I can describe it just as well, where I think it was Mendocino, California, where a bunch of guys at night climbed down into the switching manholes around one of these substations and turned off the camera feeds. And then they proceeded to shoot through the chain link fence at all the radiator fins that keep things cool. And that caused a week-long power failure. And it was like 15 guys with AK-47s shooting through the fence.
Oh.
And so my point is, we are undefended. And if you live in a small town and you're waiting for the shit to hit the fan, pardon my French, one of your first priorities should be that you have guards surrounding your little substation.
How about the nuclear power plants?
We'll get into that, Dave.
Okay.
Most nuclear power plants are well defended from a tactical standpoint, but there are some liabilities, among them being the cyber issue. Okay. So let's go on to the next one because that's where we start with this. Did you notice, by the way, in that picture, I put a drone, a couple of attack drones.
Yes, I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah.
So could a drone take out one of those places too?
All a drone has to do is go to one of the critical areas of this switching area, and that could be power regulator circuit within this little array here. And all it has to do is drop, you know, a couple of firecrackers down into one of those switch regulating areas, and then you get big surges or dropouts, or it just cuts out.
So,
and I also.
Jinny, Elon Musk had talked about on one of the talk shows how easy it was to assemble a drone army and how cheap it was, actually.
Yeah.
And
well,
that
the
it could take out
cartel's certainly doing
city.
it. Yeah, absolutely.
So,
absolutely. Yeah. And actually, I have gone through in other shows, I've gone through how you need to protect yourself from drones, because drones can be doing this to your smart meter, right? I mean, if you have enough drones, and you want to attack a town, you can attack the substation, but there's a lot of people that have solar, and, you know, especially out here, there's a lot of people that run on solar. All you have to do is, you know, most people that run solar do what's called a grid intertie. And that means that when they have excess electricity generation, they tie it back into the power grid. And that's done through a smart meter. And through a generator, your inverter. I have an inverter that has an intertie on it. So what it does is it synchronizes with the grid power signal, so that when it shoves its power back into the grid, it's right in phase with everything that's already going on. And so all it takes is, you know, a bunch of cheap drones that are capable of dropping some firecrackers, pretty much, M80s or something.
So then a drone army could effectively, without starting a war, any terrorist that could afford one drone, right?
Well, yeah, sure. I mean, if you had it rigged up so that it could drop multiple fireworks.
And then also, if let's just say that you wanted to drop a bomb or whatever on it, you drop it, and then it destroys the drone, so you can't trace it back, right?
Well, I doubt if anybody's going to be tracing it back, because there's going to be a big fire, usually. And so, and the drone can fly away. It can just fly right back to you. You know, you can program a drone to return to base. Actually, most drones have that anyway. If you blind a drone, let's say you're getting irritated because somebody's got a drone outside your window. If you shine a 5-watt laser in the camera of that drone, it's going to turn around and fly back to base. It's got it automatically. It's going to home in on its home GPS location, because drones are expensive, and they have a default program that will make it return to base if it has any equipment failure. So anyway, so on this next thing, this is from one of the many agencies out there that are telling you what to do during a power outage. And I put the red arrow there because there are things that people, depending on where you live, you're going to encounter some different problems. And it drives me nuts when I look at people just traipsing through flood areas. People walk through all that sewage water like it's not going to hurt them. And if you're in a flood, it's a very good chance there are live electrical wires down in that water. And that flow of that current is subject to the turbulence in the water and where grounding points are underneath the water. Like, let's say there's a bunch of storm drains that have metal gratings that you can't even see because it's a flood and everything is swamped. Well, that's all hooked up to a bunch of pipes that will conduct electricity. So if you're near a down,
electrocuted by walking through that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's really dumb to go out there in the water.
Okay.
So, all right. So the first image is it may disrupt communications, water and transportation, and sewage. Okay. And keep in mind that, you know, we take things for granted, like we're not going to get typhoid. Well, depends on how flooded you are. So, and of course, all the your grocery stores are going to be closed. If it's a flood, your ATMs are going to be swamped. It doesn't have to be a flood. It can just be a power outage from any number of things, which I'm going to go over. But it can, and the thing is that you know, you finally make it to the grocery store and they're open on a limited basis to try to help people. You don't know whether their coolers went out. And food that spends 2 hours over 40 degrees Fahrenheit is very questionable as to whether or not, it's going to be poison. So food spoilage and water contamination. And then, of course, a power outage is, you should be, if you have a diabetic pump or hearing aids or any sort of a medical apparatus that you need to keep alive or have quality of life, you should, number one, have redundant backup equipment, and two, have it charged up and ready to go. And if somebody's got a pacemaker that's embedded in their chest, if they're thinking about it, they better have one they can hook up right to that port in their chest and wear it in a shirt pocket.
That's right.
Yeah, because I'm going to talk about a solar flare, and a solar flare has the capability of taking down an embedded pacemaker. So,
dang.
Yeah, there's a lot of people don't even think about all their prosthetics that they have, and how a solar flare is. A CME is a big disruption in more ways than one. And I probably should do a whole show on that at some point. But anyway, so they're giving you some advice, which is, I'm going to verbalize it because to hear it is different than reading it. And by keeping your freezers and refrigerators closed, you can preserve your frozen foods. But in the wintertime in the Northern Hemisphere, or, I suggest that you have a fairly large ice chest and have it in a sheltered area like a garage that's not heated. And don't keep your ice chest in the house. Wrap the darn thing in foil or whatever and put it out in the garage where it can have a longer chance of keeping the food cold. And the other thing that's really important on the top right of that little funny shape there, disconnect appliances and electronics to avoid damage from electrical surges, because when the power is restored, it quite often comes back one phase at a time. Most of our power is at least 2-phase, if not 3. And that means that motors could accidentally run backwards. And so you really don't want to have your well pump running backwards and when the power comes back, because that means it's going to suck air and lose the prime. So there are a lot of aspects to this. The other thing is that when it comes back, it'll come back all in a rush because there are a bunch of appliances on there making demands. And so it's like a vacuum, and the power just comes flooding back in there, and there's a big overvoltage surge that can burn out power supplies on most items. So, and the thing about generators, of course, one thing I recommend is think ahead. And if you do have a generator, have a little outside shelter for it. And one of the things that I found, for years, I lived off the grid. I designed my own solar system, and for 7 years, I lived off the grid. And I had kind of a heavy demand because I had normal washer and dryer. So I got a pretty large generator, and I built a shed for it. But it was loud. And I found that on the outside of the shed, if I stacked up straw bales, I could dampen the sound and still have my extra power to run the dryer. So, it's nice to have some straw bales around, especially if you have animals and it's cold out and now you don't have heat lamps for your chickens. At least you can give them some straw so they can make nests and be warm.
Knowing you said, I designed my own solar system. I'm thinking, huh? Like, did you make a whole solar system?
Yeah, I especially had fun with the moons.
We had a guest come on and said the moon is moving away from the Earth.
It is, yeah.
That's another
slowly.
Thing.
Can't get any further to make me happy. I don't like it. Yeah. It bothers me. I don't like being observed. I don't believe the moon is real, actually. Well, actually, I think the moon is captured. And I'm not really sure what's going on with the moon, but I just don't like it anymore because it keeps me awake. So anyway, there's the standard cautions. Don't use a gas stove to heat your house. And one thing I really recommend, I don't know if people have looked into those little Crisco candles. You take a can of Crisco and you put a candle in there, and then you put a flower pot over it. There's tons of YouTube videos that show you how to make.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that.
Yeah, the Crisco actually feeds up the candle, and you can, the length of a candle, it's a couple hours, right? But if you stick it in a big old can of Crisco, you can make it last a week. And I'll tell you, psychologically, when it's cold and dark, having even a single candle flame can help calm people's fears, especially children.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a psychological thing that there is light somewhere. And the other thing I wanted to point out on this list is, well, two things. If safe, go to alternate location for heat or cooling, because this could happen. This happens during time of extreme heat waves as well, and heat can kill just as effectively, if not more effectively, than cold. And so I'm going to take my part of this thing down now for a second. And I wanted to point out that everybody, there is no excuse for you not to have a bunch of these. They cost from $2 to $3 each, and they're 4 by 7 feet.
Yeah.
And if you've got somebody who's really cold, can't get warm, you put this around them over top of a blanket. If you're going to be, the last power outage I heard of was about a week long. I think that was the Texas. Didn't the Texas one last about a week?
Yes, it did. It was a long one.
Yeah, it was pretty long. We think a week is long.
Yes, it was. Well, it was I think 2 weeks before they restored the power here.
Yeah, well, so 2 weeks. Now, if it was due to cold, if you have a bunch of these, you can put them up in your windows, because your windows are sapping 80 to 90% of the heat out of the house. So you put this up in the windows and you reflect the heat back in. So I recommend having at least a dozen of them for a family of 3, a parents and a kid.
Very good idea.
Have 12 of them. I mean, they're so cheap and they're light and they don't take up any room.
Where do you get those? What are
they? Walmart. Anywhere.
Space
blanket. They're called space blankets.
Space blankets, yeah.
If you remember the show I did on microwave weapons, do you remember that old guy in the barn showing you that these also reflect microwaves? So if you're becoming electronically sensitive, you might want to put these up all over the place because they reflect microwaves.
Tell
Amy. We know where Jinny lives. It's the house with all the tinfoil.
All the glitter, yeah. It's the disco house.
She not only wears a tinfoil hat, she has one around her house.
That's right.
Tinfoil hat out.
Yeah, actually, I don't have my tinfoil shirt on today, but I do have some clothing that is EMF proof. Let's put it that way.
Good idea.
So anyway, that you can look these up. They're everywhere online, all these instructions and stuff. But I say there are 2 mental concepts that might go forward with this. One, think of it as going back to the Stone Age, where you basically, okay, let's say you have a Tesla and you're in a power outage. I heard a fact the other day that amazed me, that each Tesla when it's charging full, draws the power that it would take to run 200 homes.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's an effective car to have, especially when you have a power outage, and it takes depending upon the charger, between like 12 hours and maybe 48 hours.
Yeah.
To start, and now you have no power, and now you're stuck. So I think have a lot of horses.
And now you're also depriving 200 homes of the power they need to run.
Right.
By charging your Tesla.
Like Chevy Chase Christmas.
Oh my God. That was an interesting thing. What's that?
Sorry, my phone just went off on a story.
Okay. All right. So let's go on to the next one, because I have some recommendations. Okay. So these are things that I just need people to think about. I mean, they're really basic. And I made this list here because, you might, I think your audience is probably more awake than most, but maybe there's something I'm going to hit in this list that you haven't thought of. And the one thing that I really want to bring up is, unless you have a solar charger for your phone, well, number one, if it's a wide power outage and it involves destruction of switching stations and stuff like that, there's a very good chance that after 3 days or so, your cell phone will stop working, because they have backups, and they have a limit. There's this a legal limit to how much fuel they're allowed to store, whether it be propane or gas.
Right.
There are larger and larger now solar battery backups that some of the power stations are beginning to use. But facilities like hospitals, or let's say like a high-rise office building, or a communication center like a large cell phone company, they probably only have 3 to 4 days worth of fuel. Don't assume that they're going to be able to cover you for the whole 2 weeks of the blackout. Right. And so either you have a sat phone that you can charge using the sun.
I was just going to ask about that. Yep.
Yeah, I can't afford one. They're just so expensive now. But then again, I have to think about who would I communicate with anyway. I can get in my truck and go up to my friend Chris's, and so that's about all I need to do. But yeah, and so lighting is extremely important, and your transportation. If you're in a suburb or a city, anywhere that's not rural, you have to think about what happens when all the traffic lights go down. And gridlock can be fatal. Gridlock is often fatal to ambulances, people who have emergencies, and the emergency transport can't get through. And so I recommend planning on not going out. You should have everything in place in your house that you can at least live 4 to 5 days. Enough food, enough stored water, and a source of light. And
if
some
you
books.
can afford it, and they're getting less expensive all the time, but there's still quite a chunk of change. Get a whole house generator.
Yeah, that would be nice.
One of those that switch over to your gas.
Several $1,000s.
They're about $6,000 to $10,000 depending.
Yeah.
But I'm getting one, and to me it's worth it, because
it could be worth it. My parents, before my mom died, my mom designed the house in Tennessee, and they had an elevator, and that elevator doesn't work unless they're running full house power. And they do have a huge propane tank that they don't use that propane. They just have it there for the generator. It's a whole house generator. But I have a 10,000 watt, a 3,200 watt, and a 1,000 watt generator, as well as backup solar panels and an inverter, and some golf cart batteries.
Yep.
So I can run a small system if I need to. I don't have to worry too much about my freezer because I live in the Rocky Mountains.
That's true.
And I'm 30 feet from the river. So if I had to, the other thing I want to talk about is water filtration. I mean, you can get the water out of the back of your toilet if you are absolutely out of water. But it sure is nice to have a water filter to put that through instead of having to use it right out of the back of the toilet. So let's go on to the next one, which is going to be a repeat of this one, only with a few suggestions. So heating and cooling, have extra blankets, and you can pretend that this is like a camping trip. If your house is really cold and you want your kids to be comfy sleeping, you can set up a dome tent right in your living room and line it with space blankets on the bottom, and then put out the sleeping bags and the sleeping pads, and the heat of their bodies will keep them warmer if they're in a tent inside your house. It seems silly, but it really does work better than having just kids in the open. And so you can use ice chests, and if it were me, if we had a power outage right now, I would probably put all my frozen food. I don't have that much, but I'd put all my frozen food in an ice chest, and then I'd put it out in the workshop. And then if I got nervous about it being a little too warm, I'd just go get some chunks of ice off the river.
Yeah.
So I do have the river near me, but there's no way I would ever consume surface water unless I boiled it and filtered it. It's just what's in there. Who knows? And so, and light, the usual flashlights and batteries. But one thing that people don't think about is you'd probably get sun in some of your windows. And if you have no power, it's nice to get the warmth of that sun coming into a room. So if you have some mirrors that you can place near the window and reflect it into the house, it not only helps people's moods, but it warms up the house. So there are some important things you can be creative with. And so the other thing is, even if you can't, let's say your cell phone died, you want to know let's say you're planning on a trip to the river to get some ice. You really should check the weather before you decide to do something like that. And so it's good to have just a plain old radio, a multi-band radio, like a one that'll do the weather and the. It's nice to have a CB radio. You can pick up a lot, even if you're just in the house. There's a lot of civilian traffic on the CB radio, and that's going to be one of the fallbacks when all the digital stuff dies. People can run CBs, off a couple golf cart batteries or off their truck battery.
That's right. Remember how popular they were in the 70s for fun? Well, now you need one for survival.
I think we should return to those. I actually just scored one, and now I'm going to have to get it mounted in my truck. But I think that could really be a big survival issue. For there are you could call for help on a CB radio.
Yes, I also agree with that. I remember in 2017 where I'd seen some of these impending disasters in a vision. I talked to a trucker and said, "Do you have a CB? And would you return to low tech if something happened? To the high tech via an EMP?" And he said, "Yes."
Yeah, if it's going to be an EMP, however, that the CB radio needs to be wrapped in a Faraday shield to survive an EMP if it's a direct hit. Being mounted in a metal truck body is not necessarily going to help the transistors make it through. And these, by the way, these things do not make great Faraday shields. One side of this is conductive and the other side is not. And if you don't have a meter, that's kind of hard to tell. And so a lot of people, a poor but serviceable Faraday shield is actually your microwave oven. You can just remember it's in there, whatever it is you put in there. So, and regular house ovens are not very good for sealing. No. But we have had some X4 solar flares. Our sun's being wonky, and our sun is really been quite erratic lately. And I'm just kind of, that X4 missed us. It grazed the earth, but it didn't. It only caused a radio blackout, I think, over the Atlantic Ocean. And but if one were to head our way, we could be facing a lot of communication dropouts and power dropouts. So, but I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. Let's go on to the next thing. And Dave, this is a live link. No, I didn't actually link this. Could you just copy that link there and paste it into the internet?
I think we can. Hang on just 1 second. Just do that, and then go back to this. Hang on, and I will open it up here. Okay, and let's see what happens. Okay, hold on 1 second, and then I will just share this with everybody so that they can see it.
Yeah, because we're going to look at it in real time if we can.
What I'm going to have to do is take down this other.
Yeah.
That for now. Okay. And then here we go. Okay, there you go. Live cyber threat map.
So now you can look at people attacking other people. And the power grid is a big target, by the way.
Right.
Oh, Penny, there goes your Facebook page, Penny.
Looks like Lima Peru's on the warpath. That's interesting. Now, so this changes. They tell you the nature of the threat on the left side. And you can see that attacks and responses are popping up all around the world. There's an awful lot coming from the United States. Yeah. I don't even want to venture to guess who that might be. But So there is a war going on. That's my point. There's a war going on. And if you're at war, one of the first things they're going to try to attack is your infrastructure. So your communications, your power grid, everything that's like that. And they're proprietary communications networks that can get, like TV stations. Those are proprietary communications networks. And then large companies too, like that pipeline company. They got attacked and they had to pay, I think, $140 million to be able to get the gas flowing again. And so there are numerous of these cyber threat maps you can find anywhere on the internet. I went looking and I found 6 of them. And I picked this one because I thought it had about the best display. Yeah. And I really like the fact that they're analyzing what kind of an attack it is.
Good Lord. We'll put the link of that in the description of today's program, folks. You can do it yourself.
Yeah. So I want to point out that this is 24/7. And when I worked at DOE, one of my friends was the IT specialist. And he came by one day and I asked him how he was doing. And he's like, I am so tired. I have been up 24 hours trying to fight off an attack from the Pacific Rim, meaning China. And so we ended up having to disallow an entire block of IP addresses because they were probing our network and looking for computers that were on and logged in, but idle, like somebody was working on it and went to the bathroom. You're supposed to log. It's a secure facility. And we had every 6 months we had to go through, a whole routine about how to be secure. But people, they forget about it and they have to go to the bathroom. So they're in the middle of something. They don't want to close it all down and log off and go to the bathroom and then come back and log on and bring it all up again. They just let it run. And so they're a wide open channel to be hacked. So people need to think about that kind of stuff. And more, there are large companies, by the way. I'll probably get in trouble if I mention this one particular company, but there is an ancient mud-like building material that they use to, especially in the Southwest, this country, that building material I'm talking about. It's like a mud and they put it in a form. Yes. And then they let it dry and then they build a house out of it. It's that company that came out after a friend of mine and me and whoever else. I years ago, I bought an $800 software package. And in the intervening time, this company had bought up that other company that authored that really great web design software. And they were out, they have web crawlers out on the web looking for people using that legacy software. And on this laptop that I'm using right now, they disabled my web design software because they now have it under license. And they seem to think that my $800 that I spent years ago doesn't matter anymore because they own the proprietary package.
So. Wow. That's and is only available online or
yeah. Well,
okay,
no, you can buy it for $2,800.
Okay.
But I spent $800 about 15 years ago. It's still viable. I use it on my other computer, which I do not hook up to the web. And it's so funny. Here I am doing web design on a computer that's not hooked up to the web because I don't want them to see it.
Is it Adobe?
I didn't say that name.
Okay, you didn't say it. I'm saying it.
I just described the building material. I didn't say it. Yeah, I didn't say it. Yeah. All right.
It's like those Mexican homes, you know what we're talking
about?
Yeah,
right. The one, yeah. Actually, Adobe is a great building material. It has an 11-hour thermal cycle.
I'm not
Yeah, so anyway, a solar flare. This is something this sounds like, I don't know, tinfoil hat material, but it isn't. I've been studying this kind of stuff for years. And what you see on the right there in the picture, in the large picture, is the Earth's magnetosphere shielding from the sun's gamma rays and various other types of, they're called pions. And basically what it is it's a high-speed particle from the sun that breaks up when it hits our atmosphere and it becomes other high-speed particles, including gamma rays. Those are not particles; they're waves. But there are a whole bunch of things that happen when a very high-speed composite particle hits the atmosphere, and people don't realize that the rays from the sun actually have an electric potential. In 1859, I think it was, the Carrington event. You know, you think about our world in 1859. We didn't have very much. We used ice boxes, and we used carriages. We didn't have cars, and you know, you think about it, it's not all that long ago how primitive life was. But one of the big newfangled inventions of the day was the telegraph, and that solar flare hit the telegraph lines and literally sent the telegraph shacks on fire.
Yeah.
And burned the fingers of the operators.
Famous Carrington event. Yeah, we were talking about somebody else the other day. Yeah.
Yeah. And so if we got something that was probably an X-class flare. And, you know, that they called those telegraph lines, well, we call them long lines now. And you don't think about, you know, our telephone system, you don't think about it being hooked up with wires, because we're so used to everything being Wi-Fi, right? But the power system still uses wires. The power grid uses wires. And so when that energy couples, it can blow out transformers and cause all kinds of disruptions. Because if you think about it, we've got a sine wave running in our power lines. That's what we use, is a sine wave. It's a fluctuating energy. And if a solar flare comes and causes one of those to go really big and really little, then all of a sudden things are going to drop out or burn up. And so this can also, by the way, this can affect other things. And it's not just the sun that can initiate one of these. An atomic bomb 300 miles up over Kansas City could literally set off an EMP that would pretty much disable circuitry across the entire country. There's a little dip in the magnetic field up around Minnesota because of the gravitational and magnetic field. There's an anomaly, and I'm not surprised about this. I lived in Minnesota for 2 years. There's a gravitational anomaly over Minnesota. And so Minnesota might get by and survive, but all the surrounding areas are going to be without power.
And they're already used to freaking cold anyway. To the point
they're used to cold.
Well, I know a guy that lived in Minnesota, and he told me, he's honest to God, he goes, when we get temperatures, not wind chills, but actual temperatures of 30 below. So when it gets up to 0, people are walking around in t-shirts.
Yeah, I lived there for 2 years. And when I bought my house, it was minus 25 at night for 2 weeks. And the plumber forgot to put antifreeze back in my hot water heating system of my new house. Yeah. Well, anyway, so you can find out a lot about solar flares. And one thing I watch, it's a website called spaceweather.com. I just kind of keep an eye on it, so I want to know whether or not solar flares are possible. And by the way, this laptop that I'm using right now lives in a Faraday shield when I'm not using it, because I value my laptop, whether or not it can be on the internet, because if a solar flare hits, the internet's going down, period. Your cell phone probably will fry. I mean, your cell phone, if it doesn't fry itself, the structure, the whole infrastructure that supports the calls, you know, think about them. They're all antennas. So they're going to pick up, and they have what's called a clamp on an antenna, so that if there's a lightning strike or something like that nearby, that antenna can pretty much keep on working. Yeah. But there's only so much they can clamp. And they can only clamp for a certain duration of time. And beyond that, you're toast. So let's keep going here.
All right. The next one is this one.
Okay, so I'm going into causes. Terrorism is a very likely possibility, especially in Texas and New Mexico and Arizona. Probably California too. I know I've heard of some terrorism in California already. And also when I worked at DOE, there were things that never made the light of day that happened in Mexico. They never came into our press. There was an interesting similar situation down in, I think it was Monterey. No, it was Laredo. It was across the river from Laredo. And they had a similar thing where a bunch of guys clad in black arrived around an electrical substation and took their their automatic rifles and just shot in there until the whole thing blew up into flames. They took out the power substation because the other team broke into a radiological substances lab, an assay lab, and stole very high-level nuclear isotopes. And the reason for the power outage was to defeat the alarm systems. So
it happens, and it's happening.
It's going to happen more. And so this is the kind of thing, Penny, that takes 2 weeks, if you're lucky. Because if it's a transformer, that's 6 to 7 years, if we're lucky. Because they're mostly made in China, and they mostly don't have backups in stock for large transformers and things like that. And so by the way, and the Department of Energy says if we get a large solar flare or some incident that takes out a significant portion, the entire country's grid, let's put it that way, that 90% of the people will die in the first year. And you know, you think about that, and it's like 90%. Why? And it's because of looting. People aren't going to have water or food, and they do have guns. And so there's going to be a lot of violence and, you know, just scrambling for basic supplies to stay alive. And so that would, you know, civil unrest is the reason people would be dying so much. But the other part of it is you think about the hospitals, think about high-rise apartment buildings that depend on elevators for getting up and down to the 15th floor. How are you going to carry your water up 15 stories if you?
Yeah, so how does that help in a smart city?
There's a good one. A smart city is nothing but a smart grave. That's how I look at it. A smart city is nothing but a mausoleum. Because they're going to be able to turn everything off.
Keep you from leaving your place, and
they'll lock you down.
Reminds me of Judge Dredd.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, but that's how I look at a smart city. And you know, they're doing enough damage to the amygdala and various brain structures now that a lot of people are going to be completely okay with that until they start starving. Then there's going to be some problems. But so let's go on because we have less and less time. So another one is aging or damaged equipment.
Oh yeah.
You like to think that we're, you know, that we are an advanced country and that everything we have is well maintained, and that's really not true, especially in the East. If you think about cities like New York City's been around for a long time, and there's
New York City.
Yeah, New York City. And there's the thing about New York City is it's on an island, and its sub-level for water is probably maybe at the most like 15 feet. And so all those underground service tunnels from time to time, like during hurricanes, they're flooded. And they got all the telephone lines and all the power lines and everything. You're not going to see very many areas of New York City that actually have telephone poles. But even if they are up on telephone poles, they're still quite vulnerable to lightning. And so lightning does a heck of a lot of damage. You can see there on the right that's just, you know, wires suspended from poles is really never a good idea. But if you dig them underground and put them in tunnels, then the tunnels flood. What are you supposed to do? I remember a picture of a department store escalator during Hurricane Sandy.
Yeah.
And there's a shark swimming by the escalator.
Wow.
Pretty interesting.
We're going to need a bigger escalator.
So, and the thing is, our equipment is aging, you know, and I hate to say this, but our politicians, they don't even, you know, even good politicians are basically criminals because they're ignoring the fact that our infrastructure is aging and falling apart.
Yeah.
Period. That's just the truth of it. You know, I recently went from Colorado to Pennsylvania, and everywhere along I-70 there was road construction, because at least they're starting to attack the breaking down bridges. I was happy to see that, but I wasn't happy to go through all those deviated lanes and delays and all that kind of stuff. And I know that, well, I had to send a report. When I worked at DOE, I had to send a report to an eastern office of DOE because I had just, they put out a broadcast looking for anybody that had information on what would happen in the event of a New Madrid earthquake. Okay, that's along Memphis, Tennessee, Paducah, Kentucky, all those areas. If a 10-point, well, they were going to simulate, University of Virginia at Blacksburg simulated a 7.2 earthquake. And then they ran a whole simulation on that, and then they did a report. And I had just downloaded the report when that call came out looking for earthquake damage assessments based on some research. And in the event of a typical fairly powerful earthquake on the New Madrid Fault, 15 bridges across the Mississippi are going to go down. And those bridges carry not only traffic, but they carry electrical lines, gas lines, all kinds of different materials.
And people don't understand that bridges are not just used for travel; that they're used to,
they're conduits.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're, and so they said in 2 minutes, 15 million people would be homeless in the event of a 7.2 earthquake near Memphis on the Mississippi. So in 2 minutes, 15 million people lose habitation.
Isn't there a huge fault line?
Yes, it's the New Madrid Fault.
Right.
And there's a connected fault to it too that goes up through Illinois. It's called the Wabash.
Would that be impactful from a Yellowstone event?
Absolutely, yeah. It's connected by the Wabash Fault. The Wabash Fault goes east and west. And so, yeah, I could go into that too. But yeah, so those bridges, if they get destabilized or if they get knocked over or whatever happens, well, there goes the grid. And a huge font of natural gas and oil and whatever else they're shipping across those bridges goes down. So let's go on, Dave. Got
all right, one
a little bit more to go. Okay, because we can talk a little. I want to talk a little bit about this after we run it. Yeah, there we go. Another link.
No problem. At least I know, so I can do this, and we'll go back to this.
We've seen this before, but I kind of wanted to bring it up, and it makes my skin crawl just to think about it, because we know that our military and whoever else has technology that we're unaware of. You know, people who have night vision binoculars and stuff like that, when they look up at the night sky, they see all kinds of things that none of us are normally aware of. And so I've heard estimates that our military is like 200 years advanced over what we see and we have right now. I don't know if that's true, but I do know that there are secret, well, there's just secrets in the night sky, right? We're not quite sure what they are.
All right, shall I play this?
Yeah, go ahead, Dave.
Oh, no. That's crazy. We thought we were late to the party.
Wow.
That's Kenner, Louisiana. And I find it rather interesting that the traffic signals were not disrupted.
It looked like a direct. At one point, I thought, okay, there's a substation that just blew. But then when I'm seeing this happening down the street,
all over the place.
Yeah, like it almost looked like there was a beam of light coming from above, like it could have been a directed energy weapon or something.
Yeah. Well, the guy that made that video, that's Kenner, Louisiana, a couple years ago. The guy that made that video had made a longer and more extended video where he spent several minutes in his backyard filming a craft that was just sitting there in the sky over his backyard. It looked, and his description made it sound like a TR-3B. It had a triangle. It was 3 lights with a larger center light. And it took off towards Kenner just as he was going to a party. And he thought, well, this will be interesting. So he was there getting gas when that happened.
Man, if that hit the gas station directly, that would have been another disaster.
I would not have been standing there at that gas station.
No, not. Otherwise, all it would have left him, it would have been a shell. It was a shell station.
So I guess I'd have to say, no matter who's doing it, that kind of thing is terrorism.
Yes.
That's terrorism. And we don't even know what the terrorism, who's doing it or what they're capable of doing. We don't even know. I mean, they've managed to keep some really powerful secrets from us. And so I guess.
We can suspect, though. We can suspect.
Well, we can be ready. Other than fire. Okay, so what happens if, there's let's say there's a lightning storm. And believe me, I've seen some incredible stories of what happens around nuclear labs and nuclear power generation places when there are heavy duty lightning storms. And it's really kind of nightmarish. But so nuclear power is another thing. I always wonder what happened to the Browns Point nuclear plant and the Gulfport nuclear plant during Katrina. And then Browns Point had a 29-foot flood stage on, I don't know the river there, but so 29 feet. And I've been in enough nuclear power generating plants to know there's no way those are waterproof. They usually they make them above grade, but there's only so much you can do. They need to be able to suck water out of a river for cooling and then spit it back. And so they have to be near rivers and rivers flood, And so if you look at what happened with Fukushima was a matter, everything went critical at Fukushima because they had the generators down where the tsunami could wet the generators out, blow them up.
We're still suffering from that.
We are still suffering from that.
Yeah, we are. We are suffering.
Yeah, the entire planet is.
Yeah.
And so, the combination of nature and human ill will means that you as a person should be ready for anything. And so if you want to email me, you're certainly welcome to.
Ms.
If you have
Magnetic 777 at protonmail.com.
Yes,
Thank you, Dave.
I did send you something that someone wanted your point of view on.
Okay. I'll check my email as soon as we're done here.
Jinny, we love you. Thank you so much for all that you do, putting together these excellent presentations and keeping our audience informed. We really appreciate you, and
Thank
God
you,
bless
Dave.
you. Stay safe. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Jinny Silcox here on the Awake Nation. And again, Ms. Electromagnetic 777 at protonmail.com. Finally, today, a man crashed his car outside a Bass Pro Shop in Leeds, Alabama, then stripped down to his birthday suit and plunged into a giant aquarium inside the store, according to police. The ordeal happened last Thursday night in front of shocked shoppers in the town just outside of Birmingham. The 42-year-old Alabama man did a cannonball leap into the aquarium and then stood under a waterfall. He left the water to yell at two officers, then dove back into the aquarium. He was not aware that the aquarium did contain piranha. That is do it for this edition of the Awake Nation. We do it Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. Central, 9 a.m. to noon Eastern. Please join us tonight by 6 p.m. Eastern as we post a 30-minute newscast on our YouTube channel, The Awake Nation News. You can watch both that and our regular Monday through Friday show also at our website, theawakenation.com. That's going to do it for today. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. We're out of time. We are out of here. Zublick out.
Shepard out.
Goodbye for now from the Awake Nation with co-host David Zublick, Penny L.A. Shepard, and Heather Day. We invite you to watch us live on Rumble at the David Zublick channel and at theawakenation.com. Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. Central, 9 a.m. to 12 noon Eastern. Join us for the Awake Nation News, a 30-minute quick shot of truth with a shot of espresso, 8 a.m. to 8:30 Central, 9 a.m. to 9:30 Eastern, followed by 5 sets of 30-minute interviews with influencers who defy the mainstream narrative. The Awake Nation, the truth with a shot of espresso. Please join us on YouTube at The Awake Nation News for an additional 30 minutes of breaking news, posting Monday through Friday at 5 p.m. Central and 6 p.m. Eastern. On behalf of The Awake Nation, with co-hosts David Zublick, Penny L.A. Shepard, and Heather Day, we humbly thank our Dark Outpost and Awake Nation family. We thank you for watching The Awake Nation and ask you to join us again each and every weekday, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. Central, 9 a.m. to 12 noon Eastern. Ship doo 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 doo, yeah. Ship doo 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 doo. Ship doo 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 doo, yeah.